I'm so eager to join me for yet another review inside Nattie's. If you're new here, this is a video that you'll never forget. So, that sounds great, but I did have more, so I found it just like that. Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Nattie's Nook. If you are new here, I'm so glad you could make it out today. Go and email me. You'll find my email on one of the last pages of this video, and just send me, I'm new here and not sure what to expect. Go and check out some of my videos on the channel. You'll get a good idea of what I'm like from my other reviews. If you're not new here, but maybe you've missed a couple of videos, go back and watch them, and because you never know which novel is going to be your next best read. And if you're not new here and you're like, Natalie, just cut to the chase, then stay tuned because this November's review is going to be Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome again to another edition of Nattie's Nook. I am so glad that you came out. This November's review is called Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I have never read one of Sarah J. Maas's books until today, where I bring you this book. I've heard a lot about her. In any case, I've maybe seen a couple instances where some of her books are edgy, and I've seen a couple instances where they are more like complex. So I guess I wouldn't say that Sarah J. Maas is this way or another way, because she's really not. She's definitely that more gray author, and I think that that's really interesting, especially in this book. So to give you a brief genre kind of rundown, I would say that this is definitely a fantasy. It's definitely a young adult, and it does have some humor in it. So if that doesn't really give you a good idea, let me just jump into the plot line so you kind of understand where I'm going with this. I'm going to try and keep this to just literally less than a minute. So without further ado, let's introduce Selena Sardothien, one of the best assassins in the kingdom. She is sentenced to years in Endovir, a prisonous wasteland that is meant for people who do not survive, basically meant to kill prisoners in the form of manual labor. So she's sentenced to this mine where she has to literally throw an axe every day, and she's not even eating enough food to sustain her. So Selena gets offered the position of King's Assassin. And this may sound like a really weird job. However, Selena finds this kind of interesting because if she stays the King's Assassin for long enough, she gets her freedom back. And she would do pretty much anything to get that back. So what Selena does is she says, yeah, I'll take it. But there's a catch. She has to complete a challenge where she goes through this really grueling set of challenges to face other human beings that are kind of like her to get this position. So she says, oh, yeah, no problem. I can just kind of knock them out, just kind of, I don't know, de-blood them or whatever her word for it is, make them a vampire. So basically she says, yeah, I'll do it. But little do we know as readers that this challenge is going to cover the entire book. So this is definitely not the challenge that Selena expected to encounter. So I want you to read this book because I want you to find out what happens to Selena. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a basic little rundown, not 3 good things like I did with Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. I'm going to give you something called 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 is 2 good things and 1 bad. This is not going to be the 5-star rating of the month just because of one thing I'm going to get to later, but I will give you my 2 good things first. The first one I'm going to give you is the dialogue is just masterfully planned by this author. There are some things I didn't like about Sarah J. Maas's writing. There are others that I really liked about Sarah J. Maas's writing, but dialogue was one of those one things that I really enjoyed by her. She did a nice job of making the dialogue appeal to the reader, reflect the character, and almost foreshadow. So I like this author's dialogue probably the best out of any dialogue I've really ever seen written, just because it was so intricately designed that there's so much significance in just the words that come out of the characters' mouths that I've really never seen before. So I do encourage you to pay close attention to what every character says in this book, because it's very important and it's all weaving together in Sarah J. Maas's master plan of how Throne of Glass really works. The second good thing I'm going to say is that her world building is superb. Like, this novel is not easy to plan. This is definitely not our world as we see it today. So she had kind of homework. She kind of had to build it in a way that it wasn't confusing, it wasn't overwhelming, but it wasn't too vague either. And she did a nice job of making the world building so interesting that I even had little questions about the world and how it worked, so that I can almost find out more about the plot. So the plot and the world really tied together in this novel, and it was just really amazingly like put together. So I would definitely say that her world building was on point. Now to the one bad thing, you're probably wondering, what's the violence like in this book? And this is going to be the one bad thing that I'm going to say, is that it was pretty in-depth. She kind of didn't leave out a lot of details. Yes, I understand that the main character is an assassin and she's like the world's best assassin, but I don't really care. I feel like there's always a way to sometimes mask the violence in a way that people won't completely like, maybe, I don't even know how to say it, but like there's a way to mask it to where it doesn't overwhelm the person, and I just feel like the violence was just kind of too much in this book. It was a good thing for me to pick up on the author's writing style, because this is one of the things that I have seen about her work, that it does get a little dark. I don't mind dark, but I do mind like violence to where it's disturbing, and this one is definitely getting to more of the disturbing level. So this is why I'm going to give this book a 4-star rating, just because the violence is just going to ding 1 star off of it, for the reason that it was just a little too much. I'm not going to say that the type was like overly like yuck, because there is another book that I'm not going to review on the channel, just because this is more of a personal review. If you want the name of it, it's called There's Someone Inside Your House. That was like really over the top. That violence was something I really don't want to dive into. Part of the reason why I'm not going to review that book. And this one wasn't that violent, but it just got really in-depth when it was violent, where I was just kind of thrown off by it a little bit. But nevertheless, don't take that violence and say, I'm not going to read this book just because it's violent, because I think there are a lot of other good things about this book. If you find a violent scene, then just like, I would say just skim it. Sometimes I just had to skim the scene and make sure there was nothing like plot important in the scene. If it was just plain violence, I would just skip it altogether. But if there was something important, just skim it and just kind of move on, because there's a lot of other good things about this book that I really want you to get into as a reader. And I was pretty impressed by her style. So with that being said, if you are into a thriller, you like the darker plot lines, and you want a definite twister, then I would say that this book is going to be for you. There are some that follow it. This is in a series called Throne of Glass, and haha, this book is called Throne of Glass. So I would encourage you, if you like this book, definitely move on to the second. I have not read the second yet, so I will be reading the second come very soon, just because I do want to see what happens to Selena, and I want to see what happens to all the other characters that I fell in love with too. And I hope that you enjoy this month's review. So with that being said, that's all I have for Throne of Glass. I don't want to spoil it. If I said any more about it, I pretty much spoiled the plot line for you, so I'm not going to do that. Basically, I'm going to give a couple announcements at the very end of the video. It's not really that much as it was last time. Really just a few quick recap, making sure you understand some things, and then we're just going to dismiss you. Have a happy reading schedule, and dive into some good books like Throne of Glass. Let me know how you liked it, and stay tuned till the end of the video for more things you can do to enhance your level of reading. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in December. Hi, and thank you again for watching this month's review of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Like I said before, the violence may be a key part for you, and if you hate violence, then probably don't read this. but it does have a 4.2 star rating, and I do encourage you, if you're 15 and up, just go and take a look. So, a couple announcements on the Nook front just before I leave you for today. There's really not much happening. I guess we're getting to the end of 2020, so that means there's going to be a whole new season of books coming up in the 2021 year. If you have any last minute suggestions that you want to throw in for the last review of 2020, please let me know. And maybe I'll even have your book just featured for this last month, because I do want to make it special. It's one of the loveliest times of the year, and I do want to close 2020 on a happy note. Definitely not going to review this one in 2020, even though it was good. So, on that note, if you want to go and suggest a book, just email me, or you can DM me on my Instagram page, which leads me into, please follow my Instagram page. It's Nattie's, NATTIES.NOOK, Nook. It literally spells Nattie's Nook with a dot in the middle. So go and follow it. You'll get some pretty much updates. You might get some creative content in the future. That's probably not going to happen for another couple months, but if you want it, DM me about it, and maybe I'll get it done a little quicker. And the last thing I want to say is just please give me feedback on these reviews. I'm kind of getting a little quiet. I do appreciate the support as always. I love it when people watch these. Just give me some feedback though. Tell me how I'm doing. If you see anything you want to change, if you see something you want to add, or if you just want to say, hey, I've noticed this and I want to point it out to you, then please just let me know anything that's on your mind. I'm a person too, so don't be afraid to just come with your thoughts. This is for you. These books are for you. And if you want to see your read, please suggest it, because there is nothing saying that your read might not show up on here. So just remember, if you do suggest a read, please keep it to maybe young adult and lower. I wouldn't suggest any adult fiction for some of the younger readers I have watching these. So if it's as long as it's young adult, I would say it's okay. And I will just kind of screen it and make sure it's okay. I'll read it myself and then I'll review it. So with that being said, I hope you really enjoyed this month's review. Go and read it, and I had a challenge posted on this last slide. Complete the challenge. It's really fun. Just kind of post a picture if you read this book, or if you've already read this book, and tag me. That's a really cool way to stay in tune with the Nook, and maybe if you email me or DM me, I can even give you some personal suggestions on what to read. So definitely do those couple things, and until December, have a holly jolly Thanksgiving, and I hope to see you for the December review and the closer of the 2020 season. So thank you for watching, and happy reading to all.